Over. We'll call the airport board, thank you. Hubbard, White, Anderson. Giving, and, to Rush on and Steven. O'Brien,
No.
everybody, we got all right, so,
Ryan just got online.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Conflicts of interest, disclose. Engage communication. First session of public comment. I would ask if you're gonna make public comment, please come forward, so we can pick you up on the speaker and identify yourself. And here's the other.
That's what I'm here for.
Hey, Frank, this is Brian Cleary. I'm participating online.
Last time we were here, I'm sure you all remember, we were discussing the low flying aircraft over our houses. And you were going to put the word out, so you can kind of get these guys to get their altitude up a little bit. So I gave it a couple months and let the word go around. It seemed to have even gotten worse. You know, I mean, they're not flying at 500 feet. A lot of them are. I mean, some of them, but a lot of them aren't. So I mean, there's no way to catch these things like, you know, have the phone on, I try to get a picture of the tail. I don't even have my phone on generally. So what else can we do? You know, I mean, as you advise the county, I get the sense that this isn't anything they would even get involved in terms of like establishing the guidelines for altitudes over our area or making it a no-fly. That's FAA.
Can I take a run at addressing this?
Yeah.
So we have met very recently. A group got together and we got together with the live flight people. We got together with the sheriff's department that flies helicopters. We talked amongst ourselves and try and get the word out. We've got a working group that has worked with the air traffic controllers to try to shift some of the patterns and to reduce the amount of traffic that's in the area with student pilots. And we're not done. We're still working on it. We're working with the people that have the louder planes, the ones that have the propellers go supersonic when they push the power up. And we are working. It's a work in progress. And Gaston is part of the working group, of course, and reported that in September, after we've started this, we haven't had any complaints. As far as I know, the last time we heard, we had no complaints, but we are aware that there's still things that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are longer term things that we're going to work on, but we want to institute something called Fly Friendly, where we make folks aware, especially you folks over there on Pack Saddle and some of the other neighborhoods where traffic coming in to land on runway 24, the standard traffic pattern here, will go lower because they're in the landing process with some of the jets and things like that. That's the traffic pattern that they have. They come in that way. That's what they're forced to do. Now, the controllers have tried to route more traffic to runway 6, tried to bring right-hand traffic to runway 24, which gets them off of Pack Saddle, but puts them over some other neighborhoods. The fact of the matter is that we're an airport and there is gonna be noise here. There's gonna be planes that while they're landing are gonna be going lower than 1,000 feet. But we're going to do everything that we can to try to be good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors and we're trying to take, we've got another gentleman back here that has taken it on himself to bring the group together that is doing everything to institute practical, safe, flying, standards so that we get as few complaints as possible and we are good. So that's about all I can tell you right now, but I would offer that Jim, if you feel that there's something else that you can add, please do.
So you're saying coming in that they can't maintain 1,000 feet
Not if they're landing a jet on runway 24 and they're in the right.
and they maintain 500?
Let me ask you said you've seen airplanes below 500.
Oh,
What kind of airplanes? Little airplanes?
There's a little bit, a lot of single engine, but also some jets. We have seen some jets flying pretty low. 2 jets on Saturday.
It would be more likely the jets because they've got to get down and they've got to get onto the runway and they got terrain that they're working around. So
But originally, I think in our previous discussion, we were saying we were outside the landing pattern. You're outside of
depends on.
the control tower formation.
Well,
Because
you're
it was over for a little over 4 miles.
outside of team pattern from the airport, but you're probably also within the ATA.
You're outside the influence area for the tower, but they're still controlling the traffic coming in. You're just outside what, a smaller, lower performance aircraft would use. They're gonna stay closer to the airport. They're slower, they're smaller category. The faster, bigger airplanes, they need more space to come down. They have a lot larger pattern. Just, staying right around the small runway. So it would probably be more common out in that area to see larger category.
So we're about 50-50, I think, about what we're seeing. in
So
terms of type of aircraft.
the other word that we're trying to get out is if you're taking off also, you can be lower than 500 feet. We're trying to get folks to fly the runway heading and get to altitude as quickly as they can and to avoid, flying low and noisy. So I would like, Jim took the initiative here. I'd like him to have an opportunity to address what you just brought up.
For the record, I'm Jim Walsh, and I'm representing Airport Association. And I took it upon myself after you guys were here that we need to address this and be proactive and come up with a somewhat reasonable solution if we can. But what we don't know is your group is what the end game is. What would you like to see and possibly happen to put you guys at ease? So I haven't discussed that with you, but let me bring you up to speed what we So I got some key players here at the airport all together for a kind of a town hall meeting here at this office to discuss your guys' concerns. So the members that came were Gaston, the airport manager, Frank and Steve, chair, co-chair, Life Flight, Coon County Police Department, Mike and Katie, Coeur d'Alene Flyers, he's representing Folk Lane Society, Tower Tech, the traffic controls, all the flight schools except for Action, which is they're going out of business. He's retiring. Coeur d'Alene Maintenance, Kirk there. Aaron Salzer representing the corporate side of the airport, and Joe with Stancraft. I think Joe's here. And what it was basically a round table meeting, starting with Gaston, who put on the big screen part of his program here that identifies everybody that calls and files an issue over traffic. And he has all those on this map, how many times they call, how many times and times they call. So we kind of saw where all the issues are, and which was enlightening. And also some things we didn't know about, like Life Flight. They already have a flight friendly program that's in their corporate setup. So they are big on avoiding issues that we're starting to deal with now.
Mhm.
So that was kind of a total success, I felt. And some conclusions coming out of that were big inputs by Terry at the Power Tech, and that was to keep the little airplane traffic west of the Highway 95 and the water tower, the new paved water tower, to keep that pattern tight. Another thing was, Terry was saying, 3 takeoff and landing with the training airplanes, they were gonna move them to the north side. So they're not circling in around the 95 area. So those were some implements. Light flight, the traffic coming down from Sandpoint to Kootenai Medical, a lot of times are over your guys' area. So they're staying higher and on 95 getting south. Also, light flight coming back from the valley is staying over 90 rather than coming up and over into Kootenai. So they're actively changing. Also, they are heading Delta One out, not flying out over here at the Viking construction development just west of us here. So actively, it's implemented. We're trying. It's word of mouth right now. Like we said, we haven't had any phone calls from complaints on noise in the last, I think, 30 days. Which was encouraging.
Yeah, it's bizarre, yeah. You know, a lot of the neighbors there would have called and they know that was from it. The question I have, how much of what we're seeing could be due to people simply, you know, a full pattern, they're just simply flying around waiting for an opportunity to get into the pattern?
I don't believe that they're waiting to get into the pattern.
You know,
That's
pretty
my
well responded. Total many is what, 1 point you had 17 aircraft down, so, when it's not controlled, you'll see that. I mean, I've had my chance to have to go out and do 360 to wait to get in with the tower. You call from a certain distance out, and they direct you, they want to get you in, they want to get you down as quickly as possible. I just think perhaps what you're experiencing with the little airplanes is people not necessarily interacting with the airport, they're just transiting the area, going north and south, and they could be in this airport or not. But I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to implement some procedures around here in a very friendly fashion to say, hey, we've got complaints from this area, we have your, you know, please don't overfly that if you don't need to. If you want to go from the Hayden Lane side, Port Lane side, go around the end of the ridge, don't just take a shortcut to the top of the ridge, because, you know, those people are 500 feet higher than the building floor. The GPS is telling you you're 1,000 feet over, which is legal out.
So they should already be maintaining, if they're just flying back and forth or joyriding or whatever, they should be maintaining the minimum of 500 over.
Well, actually, over 500 in the area should be 1,000, because I explained to you, you folks are west of an accident geography. You get to live up on the hill. Well, people come flying over and they're 1,000 feet AGL here, and then they get to your hill and they're 500. You know, they're not going to do this. But the easier thing to do is just say, okay, I'm just going to fly around that, you know, avoid that area altogether. And that's really what we want to try and implement, you know, get it into the thought process, which is going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
What I would say is we didn't find any resistance from any of the players that were there. That we're all aware that we want to be good neighbors. If there's things that we can do safely and in a manner that, you know, still allows us to use the airport, we're going to do that. Now, we haven't put together charts and graphs and things like that, and it would take a while if we're going to actually change the published traffic patterns out here. When we've got controllers, they can send the aircraft wherever they want. But when it's uncontrolled, and that's going to be as of the end of this month, it will be uncontrolled again. So we're going to try and get the word out that, you know, if you're doing touch and goes, go on the north runway. And to the extent the wind allows that to happen, hopefully we'll see that happen. But give us some time. We're working on it, believe me. Jim has put a lot of effort into this so far, and there was no one there that was blowing off your concern.
So, this is Brian Cleary. When it's an appropriate moment for me to share a few comments, I'd like to.
NBAA, which is National Business Aircraft Association. HAI is Helicopter Association International, and AOPA, Aircraft Owner and Pilots Association. All three of those groups have dealt with what we're dealing with right now and have a lot of information that they've given me and are willing to help to kind of keep this communication thing going. And the one point that they all said was, it's the communications between airport staff, airport advisory committee, and your guys' group. And in one of the things that were brought up in our meeting was, if there is a complaint, say, you got, this guy's flying around our house 3 times a day type thing. You call the office, and one thought we had was, we can go and meet with you as a small group, show up and discuss it, trying to figure out who that individual was, times, dates, and things like that, and try to rectify it amongst us. So that was one thing we're working on. So it's called the Fly Friendly Program. So that's what I'm trying to get going. This way, it could be presented at Joe's facility for the corporate guys to come up with a Q code, saying basically, take off from the next tower, climb to a certain altitude before turning, things like that, that were, a volunteer type thing. We can't do it on the regulation right now. So right now it's all volunteer. At such point, as far as violations, that's when the FAA gets involved. And that's for a low flying aircraft, somebody doing aerobatics over your house, getting an in number, things like that. We can go a different route where they can get the feds in for violations. But right now, it's a Fly Friendly Program. We're trying to work with you guys. We need to know if you can get the in numbers of those airplanes.
So can you guys hear me?
Phone numbers that you could make available to us, because we're just a group of neighbors. We're not even an ad hoc society or a group here just putting together, complaints about what's happening.
I understand. This is where it all stands. I believe there is a phone number here at the office you guys can call.
Okay.
And then be a register.
And Gaston, I'm sorry, excuse me. Are you going to be not available anymore after you close the tower down?
Gaston is the
No,
airport director. He's the director. Gaston is the airport director. He's a full-time employee of Coogee County and
He
manages
here all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Now, as far as the corporate jets, the bigger iron that make the noise, I don't know, Aaron, you got 2 minutes to address. So Aaron's a colleague here at the airport. He's representing at my meeting the corporate side, which is all the bigger jets. And he has some insight as far as
the noise and stuff goes, it's typically on the landings for 2-4, if we're directed to do left-hand traffic in there, and that's when we get close to that saddle. It's the saddle we're talking about out here. Typically the jets are required to stay at 1,500 feet above the ground versus 1,000 that the little guys do. So we're all there. The biggest issue for us doing right traffic is then you take the pilot that's on the seeing side of the aircraft, and he's now blind coming in from the right hand side. We don't like to do that. It's also under the unprotected area on the north side of the airfield. Right? So we don't get to pick and choose near as much where we go as it's dictated by the rules and regulations of the FAA. However, what we do in practice here in Coeur d'Alene is we take off towards the west and we land coming in towards the east on 6. There's a number of reasons for that. It's raining out by your houses. Poses a problem for us if we have a single engine event or something. We cannot climb that. And there are rules and regulations in our charts and things. So it's easiest for us to depart on 6, or excuse me, depart on 2-4, go out towards the west, and then get into the airspace system over Spokane. And we do that quickly. Below 10,000 feet, we find 250 knots, it's about 280 miles an hour. So we're going pretty quick. We don't do touch and goes in jets. We don't do training in jets. There's one guy out here that does, but he's actually very respectful and does a good job. What other questions do you have regarding the jets that I can answer for you?
Okay. Please, if you can. Sure. I tried to go through the FAA regulations this afternoon. Approaches, and if you're still in a flight path that shouldn't, is a minimum of 4,000 foot over like a mountain range or something like that for clearance. That's what I thought it was. If you're not in a final approach or even on a, if you're in the pattern yet, you still have to maintain that. I thought
1,000 feet above the highest terrain. On an IFR for flight plan.
Okay.
And those are dictated by highways in the sky, and we don't just arbitrarily pick and choose that.
Okay.
So we have to follow the routes that are given to us.
Okay. And is our area where we're talking about on Paxel, is that part of the, that's not the downwind, that's not the final approach, that's the downwind approach, is it not, for that pattern? Or is it not even a part of
Okay,
that?
so you're talking apples and oranges. The traffic pattern is 1,500 feet above the ground, and we're in visual conditions. Okay, and we're navigating by looking out the window, looking for other people.
You're navigating your jets with.
Just looking outside, absolutely, really, yeah. As long as it's clear blue skies, that's the only way to fly. Okay, we have to see the other traffic, we have to see, the only way they land is if we can see the ground. Okay, so the ILS will bring us down to 200 feet above the ground, out on runway 6. There are no approaches to 4 because of the terrain on that side. Okay, and this approach for that is climb to 1,500 feet and then make a left turn, go north towards Sandpoint, turn around and come back towards Coeur d'Alene and hold at 7,000 feet. So you'd never see or hear us probably in the clouds.
No.
Okay. So what's happening when you see the jets that are coming in and making that turn inside the big bowl out there, which we don't like to do, okay, is we're navigating visually, trying to find the runway again. We like a 3-mile final. If we can get it, we like 3 miles. So that's what we're trying to do. But we should be underpowered at that point in time, so it shouldn't have a lot of thrust. It sounds funny when they're underpowered, but
Yeah, it's
a whiny thing.
Yeah. Right. And you're losing altitude.
And we're trying to get down.
Not as a spokesman for the group here, but, I know that our inherent problem is the clearance from altitude, flight altitude above our houses. This bothers them really more than, just powering down, losing altitude coming in. That's been a big issue. Yeah, I understand.
I'm gonna ask you a question. What's the elevation difference between Paxel Drive and the top? Do you know it?
It's gotta be close to 2. I mean, I'm.
See, I live directly south, just a little ways off from the base of Canfield. And I see the jet traffic go over all the time. I can't recall ever seeing one come in under, lower than the top of Canfield. I've seen them come in, parallel with the top. But generally what I see is them going, and I assume they were just doing a left base for 2-4. But I see them pretty much level with or above the top of Canfield. I've never seen anybody below.
We got a mix, that's why it seems like, that some of them, I'll see some jets up there, and some of them are definitely at least 1,500 feet up there. They're way up there, you can hardly hear them. And then you get the next guy coming along, and it could be a jet or it could be a prop truck coming through. And I mean, I may not see his numbers, but I mean, he's definitely not even 500. Some of them might go closer to 200.
I got a pipeline guy that goes over my house today, and he's 500 feet. Check the gas.
Just to close this out, we move on to some other issues. So there's no misunderstandings. Your question about 4,000 feet when you're on an IFR flight plan, and I think Aaron did a good job of explaining. When you're on the IFR flight plan, there's 1,000 feet clearance and it's flying the pathways. But when you're landing, and you're landing under VFR conditions, which is what's going to happen if you're landing on runway 24, There's no instrument approach to 2-4. He's looking out the window and he's descending. And so there's the difference between 1,500 that he's coming in at pattern altitude and when he gets established on final approach is going to be a different number than 1,500 feet. Go ahead.
Let me clarify that. There is a circle to land approach for runway 24. It brings you down to 800 feet above the ground, but most jet guys won't do that. I won't do it.
So, anyway, we are doing our best to address the issue. I hope you stay engaged with us. We will try to stay engaged with you folks and we'll let you know what the progress.
Okay. Yeah, Brian has some comments before we move on. Brian, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Vaguely,
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah.
So, good evening, fellow board members and members of the public. My name is Brian Cleary. I'm one of the airport board members. I am a resident that lives in the flight path of primarily the jets that approach, as you just heard, and they come directly over my home up here in Hayden Lake, just above the lake. And it's a constant procession when they come. I mean, this weekend, I was out trying to enjoy time in my yard, and what I saw was a stream. I didn't count the minutes in between, but what I saw was just a continuous procession that would come over, and they continue to just come over my house as if it's like, you're on the airport board, so we just want to make sure that you hear us. And this has gone on for many years, but it is the frequency that it is occurring that is increasing. I track exactly what you're saying about their approach.
I know. Brian?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, your comments will be recorded, so anybody that listens to the playback can hear them, but unfortunately, nobody in the audience can hear what you're saying.
Okay.
I've got the volume turned all the way up, so.
That's unfortunate. I'd encourage that the system work a little bit better in the future because I'm not always able to be there in person. But the jet traffic is annoying. I get what you're saying, but it's just continuing to increase. It's not acceptable from perspective of a person living under it. It's transforming the nature of this area. That's not right. I reckon your right to fly, but your right to interfere with my peaceful enjoyment of property is really getting to a point where it's unacceptable.
Okay, well, we'll duly noted, and I will share the address that you shared in the comments. And like I said, we can move forward then. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, I'd like to make sure we got you folks in names, email. So we can stay in touch. We don't want you to think we're not doing anything. My God, we've had such a terrible time just getting people to recognize that we have a tower. We still have people wanting in to violate the airspace. Their excuse is, why do we have a tower? Well, the pilots for being a smart group of people can often people. So it's a work in progress. It's going to get better. Once word gets out, it's going to allow us. There's certain areas want to boil flying more out. I didn't take hold. I think that was Jim said put together good working group. We're going forward. We heard you and we heard you. Again, it's one of those things. We get people flying into from this area. This is what we have a guy flying. Goes to the top falls and so he wants to take the scenic route over the Portaway and comes in over your house. He has no idea. But at least with our resident population.
That's like a nautical fee chart, don't you? And finally with a place where, they're looking at their mapping into this area, there's altitude restrictions kind of all around that are
Well-
published, that are just there.
Well, the FAA is pretty particular about, yeah, for example, you know, if there's military facilities, like if you fly over Hanford nuclear, it's 80,000 feet above the security, things like that. But when it comes to situations like this, where you have, you know, a sensitive neighborhood like that, I don't know how easy it would be to get an exception. But at the very least, we can communicate to our community and say, hey, stay, you know, you don't need to be over there, don't be over. If you want to go from north to south, take the time to go around, just go on over the top. 200 feet up the rooftop. So I think we can get there, but it won't be.
Okay, I'll get up at 6 when that guy flies over in the morning. I'll take a picture of it.
You do what I do, you get up on an aircraft radio, and hey. That's how I found out about the gas pipe, when I called the guy, said, you know, we'll go there, it's still, of course, they were looking at the gas pipe. I'm gonna move off public comment for all that, and see. Through the minutes of the previous meetings, and you want to make a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I move. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Yes, I will second. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Here we go, staff reports, one of the commissioners report. Warren, you're up. Start.
All right, I will give you the updates. A couple things have changed since I published this list. First off, the snow removal equipment building, we did receive final comments from the FAA, and we're getting ready to close that one. We're going to get or the county will get paid back for their investment on that here over the next month or so, next couple months. So they accepted the final report. Runway 624 project. I submitted the final report on that. That's a change from last month to the FAA, the draft final, so then we're getting closer to that finish line, no actual physical construction or anything. So, the taxiway N project, which was a seal coating project, I submitted the final report on that one on October 1st. And then the main change is taxiway Charlie extension. We were getting ready for construction this fall, and then we heard basically the contractor didn't sign the first selected contractor. He is no longer eligible. He didn't sign the agreement, and so we're going to the number 2 contractor. And in talking with him back and forth over the last couple of weeks, he would like to start. And he's planning to start on October 28th this month. So that means that the glide slope will be off when they're doing the grading on that end for the 28th through the 15th. And then we'll have to reflight check it and turn it back on after the 15th of November. So the 20th of October through the 15th of November. So.
You got something, weather can impact.
Yes, if we get an early winter before the 28th, yes, and if basically we get a foot of snow after they start, they will also have to, there won't be any. We're hoping though that the weather will hold and we can get, it's just earthwork, not in paving, earthwork stuff that needs to be done this fall. Turf landing area, we are working on still getting the 50% design submitted. It did not get submitted at the end of September. I'm hoping to submit at the end of this week. We'll see how that goes. We've had a lot of sick people in my office. I did end up submitting the aircraft, the firefighting equipment that we're getting ready to procure this fall. The draft spec and design report went to the FAA this morning and to the airport for review. We hope to get comments back by the end of the month so it can go out to bid beginning in November and opening in December. And the last thing is we do an annual wildlife hazard training for the airport, and we submitted a task order for that. So it can be done hopefully this next month.
Thank you.
be short and sweet. Essentially, our new temporary tower structure is hopefully near completion, by the end of this week. All the radios were going in it today. They're finishing up the railing for the catwalks tomorrow. It'll be on 8 AM tomorrow. And, from there, it's just minor, tweaks to radio tuning and stuff like that. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll get them up there and at least, working the equipment, working out any bugs they have before next season. The guys are still, the majority of the painting is finished, south runway 624, they're still finishing up just different radiuses, touch-up points, and everything. But for the most part, most of the paint is down except the edge lines on the taxiway, which if weather still holds within 73 days, there's a pretty good chance we'll get all that down as well. So it's definitely looking nice having it all refreshed out there. Other than that, it's just normal ops. We're trying to get all of our snow equipment pulled out, get all the summer stuff winterized, and kind of get prepared for the cold season. So I'm sure in the coming month or so, we'll be scheduling a snow meeting like we do every year. Just kind of that'll be one that tenants usually invited to. Nothing really changing from the program of last year as far as how to clear snow or anything like that. So we're ready to rock. So available for any questions.
Subject to hangar development, is there getting progress on getting this area opened up sometime in the near future, start putting hangars in?
We met with engineering and with a couple excavators in that area. We're just kind of scratching the surface on what it would take to actually develop in that area. It's a pretty complicated area with the terrain change and how it really drops down. I mean, the elevation between the citation there and the west ramp is almost 10 feet with it grading as far as hangars. So we're just trying to put together how many hangars could we fit there? What does that look like? How many hangars will be at grade with the Delta 3 extension? How many would be at grade with the west ramp essentially? So we should have a plan, I would say, next month or so that we can reform with kind of preliminary.
Progress on the number.
Not yet. We're still in a holding pattern, waiting for the appraisal will come back to Fish and Game that they're conducting. So we don't expect to see that until December. So it's about it's a long one.
Anybody else? Questions for this?
Thanks, Gaston.
We can move right on to business. Item A, subcommittee report.
Actually, I will make that. Hold on. We had a great meeting. Gaston did a great job moving this through. Again, deserved.
For the benefit of the audience, this is a subcommittee that we recently put together to talk about how we'd like to develop this north side of the airport on the north side of 624. Try and come up with some guiding principles, some visions to what should be where and how should be made.
And I don't think we're just restricting ourselves to the north side. The north side is certainly a big part of it, but Gaston did a great job of leading us through what might be available, what some of the options might be in the future. I would call it an organizational meeting, just laying the groundwork. We'll get together in the future when everybody's available and then start, kind of tackling more detailed pieces of it. But we spent an hour in this room. It was very, very good. Been on this airport a long time, and I probably won that meeting. Excited about it. I think it's a great group. We're all interested in the same thing that we are. Asking the same questions you were asking. We talked about it. That expanding that area there. So that's kind of where we are.
I was kind of hoping we could segue this over into something of almost a permanent committee to look all around the airport and what opportunities and options are available. Kind of help gas and see goes along because I know it's going to be a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had a good mix of people. I mean, we got people building hangars on the airport, we got operating on the airport, we got pilots who flying in and out of the airport. So it's a great mix of folks involved with it.
except for me, but I showed up.
Yeah, so the other thing,
No, pretty much, summarized exactly, we just kind of laid the groundwork. I just explained, there's different, property uses on the airport based on how, the property was originally acquired, so that changes whether you do non-aviation, aviation, pretty much just a thorough background of all the way down to property acquisition, how and what we can do. Here's the blank slate, what's on the horizon currently for different areas. What are we currently looking at? What are some ideas? So I think the homework takeaway, and I think we'll meet next week or two. Bringing the ideas to the table and on the same page. Path forward.
Frank, before we go on to the business section, I think, Jim might want to give an airport
oh,
association.
good Lord, I skipped right over the coffee,
So as far as the association, our meeting was, last night, and our big topic of discussion was the noise issues. We're committed to trying to resolve it, guys, had that discussion. I explained to the group, the meeting we had, basically what I said. We're trying to press forward. So that's where we're at. Also, there was a, application submitted for the grant, so that was awarded last night also. I don't
Yeah, on track. Item B on business, input on agenda items for next meeting. Anybody has any, I'll leave them by November 6th. Otherwise, we're open to discussion by phone group. Things on their mind or anything they might want to see addressed in the future meeting. So,
Just one question I have is you're having a discussion here about the north there. You're talking about an overall expansion?
no, let me clarify that. What we're talking about is if you look at this map, you see the white outline?
Mm-hmm.
This is all the property that's owned by the airport. This is the airport property. As you can see, the airport is divided north and south by runway 624, the big one runway here. And the south side of the airport has largely been developed. I mean, not all the way out. There's still areas, for example, here that we like to put some hangars, possibly out here and possibly over here. But what prompted us to put together this committee was got looking at there's a brand new facility up here that was built this year. Matter of fact, are they in there yet?
Almost, not quite.
Now they're called Electronics International, and they were previously headquartered in Bend, Oregon. They're very well known in the aviation community, general aviation. They make engine monitors and other avionics equipment, and I think the way Gaston put it was the owner called him and said, I gotta get out of Oregon, get a place I can put my facility. So he came over and built this brand new facility. How many jobs you got?
150 to 200.
Yeah, and I mean, these are, these aren't Walmart jobs. These are technical positions that pay very well. Well, looking at this and realizing that, there's probably a lot of other businesses like EI that are in some of these more urbanized areas that are getting both tax and cost of living out of these locations. So Gus and I got talking about it, and we thought, well, one thing you really want to avoid is letting everything go haphazard up here. You got EI here, and then somebody comes over here, and somebody's here. So we thought, let's put together a committee and work smarter on this and figure out, okay, for example, here's Mr. Tim's facility here, Empire Airlines, this is Stancraft. This is where all the jets come in, very crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But you got all this ground over here. What might we think about putting here? Where would we put more hangars up here? What kind of hangars? We've got different customers asking different things, and we thought, well, let's get out ahead of it. So when they do start to go out and say, well, we'd like to relocate and build something at Portland Airport, we can say, well, we can pitch in over here that would work well for this, and we can also work our infrastructure. Our sewer and water and electrical needs, service those kinds of things. And it's just really kind of a big tank operation. There are no airlines coming. You got the Bill Cummings speech in July. I got a big kick out of that. Bill was absolutely right. That's 500 feet off the bottom and start bringing this. But no, it's just a matter of saying, okay, we have this resource. How do we do this? Because we know there are going to be people coming in. There's no way around it. It's just a question of how we wanna cite them, how we wanna handle them. Anybody else? I'll move down to the last public comment, which is almost extensible.
So all I would say is that, Brian, Cleary. Brian Cleary is a board member that tried to talk to us here. If you're interested in what he has, he's trying to comment about the noise, go online and Kim's got it recorded there. So, you can hear what his comments were.
I think Brian.
Yeah, Brian's lives up one page.
So anyway, yeah. You can hear what he said.
Good.
Good. If you can't, you have to come here and talk like the rest of us.
What do we have on? Anyway, that's it. No, that's so we make a motion.
I'll say,
All good?
good job.